Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Jill Tolles joins us. She's the executive director of the Guinn Center, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Here on 7 at 7, we're bringing you the local headlines in just 7 minutes.
We've got you covered in the morning, evening, and for all breaking news in between and as it happens.
Life is busy, and we don't waste your time. Join us for local news now streaming on our YouTube page.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
A new year brings new ways to win big with the $150,000 flurry of cash giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Thursday and Saturday prize drawings, including up to $5,000 in cash and up to $10,000 during the grand prize giveaways, only at the Carson Valley Inn.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the heat back on today. Call us today and we'll fix it today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why freeze for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your furnace fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted to welcome back to the program Jill Tolles. She is executive director of the Guinn Center. Explain briefly, what is the Guinn Center?
I appreciate the briefly. Yes, you know how I can get excited about it. So first of all, thanks for having me again on the show.
Course.
And the Kenny Guinn Center for Policy Priorities has been around since 2013. And before I took over 2 years ago, we had produced 100 reports, policy reports. And in the last 2 years, we've produced over 24 leading into this next legislative session. We are a statewide, nonpartisan, data-driven policy research center. So we look at things like education, health and social policy, economic and fiscal policy, governance and elections, and a little bit of natural resources.
All right, well, let's start with early childhood education.
Yes, so
what did you find?
Very excited to have our new director of education policy, Dr. Anna Colquitt. She and her team did an amazing job looking at early childhood. And so it's a huge issue. I went to Washington, D.C. Our congressional delegates were talking about it in the State of the State address, talking about it across the state. What we found is that Nevada's system is extremely complex. We have over 60 programs and entities serving early childhood, and that's 0 to 8 years old, and over 40 budget accounts dedicated to it. So imagine if you're a family trying to find services for your child, that is an incredibly complex system to try and navigate. And so where we find evidence-based recommendations or policy options for lawmakers to consider, we put those forward. So in our report on early childhood, we recommended that there'd be a streamlining of those processes to make it more efficient and effective in navigating for families and for good governance, and recommended that there would be a sole entity that would help oversee that restructuring, even if it's just set up temporarily, not necessarily setting up a whole new office, but some entity that can come in and do an evaluation, look for where we need to consolidate.
Is your information being held in a receptive manner by the governor and the leadership?
So there's a lot of interest in this particular topic, and we do present our information to the education committees over the interim, and then at the beginning of this legislative session and to the governor's policy team. It's important to note that we're not an advocacy group and we don't lobby.
Right,
So
right.
we just provide data and information, quantitative, qualitative research methodology. But yes, it has been a tremendous amount of interest, a number of legislators looking to address this issue and relying on some of the data and the findings of our research as they bring forward their bill draft requests and hopefully present. And the role that we play is we're available to, again, we don't show up in public comment, we don't support or oppose bills, but we're available to be experts in the hearing to answer questions about the data and the findings.
Now, you're a former assemblywoman, and you know that with term limits, we have so many new legislators coming in each session that this is so needed by the legislators because they come from all different walks of life. They are not experts in all these different categories that they're going to have to deal with.
Absolutely, and that's the role that we play, right? Because we're not a special interest, because we're not taking sides, and that's not our role. We are there to inform and to engage, not just our lawmakers, but also the public. So everything that we produce is free and available on our website, guinncenter.org, so that anyone can use it. So that's our goal, is to make more informed decisions, to provide information for more informed decisions with our lawmakers, and a more informed public and a more informed debate.
The pupil-centered funding plan.
Yes.
Explain that.
So in
Simply.
In 2019, I was actually in the legislature, so I remember this well. We voted in a new funding formula. How do we fund our students? So quite simply, we have students with different needs. How are we ensuring that the dollars follow that student? And so we have a base level funding. Every student gets basic amount. And then if they qualify for additional funds, if they are English language learners, if they are special education, if they are gifted and talented, or they are considered at risk, then they get additional funding. So what was interesting about that was to be able to follow, how did that actually get implemented down at the elementary school level? We mapped it out. You can go on our website, it's a really cool interactive tool, and you can see, okay, where did those weighted funds get distributed? But some of the findings were that although we made a lot of progress as a state, and it definitely was an improved model, there's still some room for improvement. For example, a student that qualifies for more than one weighted category. So let's say I'm a student and I have English, I'm an English language learner, and I'm special ed, and I'm at risk. The formula can only afford right now one of those weighted categories, yet the districts are responsible to meet all the needs. So in Washoe County School District, the way that that played out is that they're still required to meet that student's needs in all the categories that they qualify for, but they only receive funding for the top one. So that has equated to a $20 million deficit in what they have to cover for those needs versus what they're actually getting funded. Some other things that we learned is that just the...
Okay, so how do you resolve that? Or does that come under your purview?
Well, it's not for me to decide anymore. I'm not in that building,
right.
But it is for the legislature to consider. Are we really fulfilling that goal of having the dollars follow every student based on their needs? And if not, what is needed to do that? And so that's, I'm sure, going to be a major discussion, and how those funds are allocated across all the districts. I'll give another example for rural districts. They have students that qualify for gifted and talented education. However, because of where they're located, they may not have the ability to fund or access the accredited gifted and talented programs because they may not have the teachers available in rural Nevada, what have you. So you have students that still have those needs. The district is covering how to give them programming, but because they're not using one of the state-approved accredited programs because it's not available in their area, they're not getting funded for that. So it was very fascinating to look at the data. And then the other side of it is we do qualitative research. So our team interviewed principals and administrators across the state to understand, what do you understand about how this funding formula works? Have you felt a difference? Have you felt that actually implemented in your schools? And
what was the response?
Most of them didn't even know what it was. So there needs to be some professional development and better communication across the board to make sure that it is actually being implemented at each school level the way that the legislature intended. These are not, I think, huge. The funding is a bigger conversation, but I think some of the other things, increasing the level of data collection, transparency, and education, professional development, for making sure that it's being utilized the right way to have the desired outcome is going to be huge. The other thing that is really interesting that got some news is that we changed the at-risk funding category. It used to be if you qualified for free and reduced lunch, so certain economic factors, you were considered at risk. I commend them for saying that may not be the best indicator, but what they did was switch over to Infinite Campus that came up with a 75-point metric that lacks a lot of understanding about what all goes in that 75-point metric and how it evaluates if you're at risk and whether or not that actually ties to are you truly at risk of not being able to graduate. So the thing that was most evident when they made that switch was it automatically dropped a large percentage of those students who qualified based on the new metric. And so I think there's going to be a lot of discussion in this next legislative session about what is the best and most accurate way to determine is a student really at risk.
Okay, so let's go back to the funding portion.
Yeah.
Is that the state's responsibility or the individual school board's responsibility?
Well, the school board can't, I mean, other than, maybe some bake sales, can't raise those funds. So that's the state determines the funding levels and then allocates it to each school district, and then the school district then allocates the funding to
right.
the
So
schools.
so I guess
Right.
I asked the question in a poor way there, but yes, that was my point. So
Right.
it still does come down to the school board and to make the final decision of where that money goes, or not.
Well, the school board can only work with the funds they've been given. So as
Right.
far as being able to meet all of the weighted funding, that needs to come from the state. But then how the school districts then allocate how those funds go to each school, it differs. So Clark County is different in the way that they allocate it. The principals have much more engagement on how those funds are allocated. Every other school district, it is at the school district level. And so that's one of the areas that we recommend there can be a better way to make sure that that data is being tracked and collected so that it's more transparent, and then decision makers can engage in a more thoughtful way about how is this working according to what it was intended.
Okay, so for the students, for example, that we were talking about in rural Nevada,
Right.
we have telemedicine that comes and goes,
Yeah.
but hopefully is continuing to come in the Silver State. Yeah. Are we not able to do that with qualified programs for students in rural Nevada?
I don't know the answer to that in regards to high quality accredited programs for gifted and talented. And whether or not we have evidence that shows the right outcomes for the intended purpose. I know students with gifted and talented categorization often are misunderstood, that that they automatically are high achieving students that are going to get straight A's on everything because the name
Right.
might lead you to believe that. But in fact, a lot of our gifted and talented students are actually really struggling in school because the way that their brain operates doesn't connect necessarily with the way we deliver. So could that be bridged with an online program? I don't know the answer to that.
But I mean, what we saw with COVID, where students were learning via their laptops and PCs, and the failure of that in so many ways, it seems that using rural Nevada as an example would point us in the direction, because that is going to come again, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 50 years.
Right.
But we need to be prepared for that a lot better than we were the last time around.
Yeah, good question to research. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Nevada Newsmakers, always trying to help. We'll take a break. We'll be back with Jill Tolles after this timeout.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Jill Tolles. She is the executive director of the Guinn Center. Out of school youth, what did you find about them and what they're dealing with?
So good tie into what we were talking about right before the break, and essentially what do we do with students that are gifted and talented? One of the reports that we conducted, one of the studies we conducted, was focus groups with students who had dropped out of school, trying to determine why did they drop out and what could we do to prevent that or re-engage them in maybe alternative schooling models. And one of the surprising findings for the team was that a number of them were high achieving students or students who might qualify for gifted and talented. And they just didn't feel like they were being engaged enough in schools and therefore chose to drop out. So we're losing these students that obviously has a longer term impact on our economy, society, many cases the justice system. And it's because we're actually not engaging them enough, and we may be mischaracterizing them as what we used to call dropouts, when in fact, they're highly intelligent and achieving, and we're just not meeting those needs.
Okay, so what's the solution to that? Or did you come up with one?
Well, so there were some interesting considerations out of that report. So some things like, obviously engaging them in maybe alternative programs that are more career focused, that have enough stimulus for them to see the tangible connection between school and their future careers. Some other things, though, are being creative around alternative timing of schools. So maybe some students, they dropped out because they're helping their family business survive, and or they're helping take care of other family members. And for them, an option of going to school in the afternoon or in the evenings, some flexibility around those programming, may be a way to re-engage those students and get them back into workforce preparation pipeline, which we need.
But absolutely, but is there the opportunity within the funding that the school districts have to be able to provide that?
Well, we have some great partners, not just within the school districts, but partners like workforce programs. There's oh my goodness, I just forgot the name of it, but it'll come to me at 1 a.m. But so many, right? So many of our workforce partners that have these workforce connections down in Southern Nevada, for example, has a lot of these alternative programs that they can engage students, get them back in so that we don't lose them completely. More career technical education programs. And so yes, there is funding through
those
our traditional.
CTEs seem fabulous.
Amazing. And we did some more research on that. I don't want to spend the entire time on education because we do have a lot of other research, but I will pivot to that briefly. We did a study looking at what are the skills that our students are graduating with, and comparing that with what are the skills that employers are looking for. And our CTE programs incorporate in their curriculum standards durable skills, or what used to be called soft skills, problem solving, conflict resolution, communication. And we're finding an extremely high rate of success for those students coming out of those programs. Why not spread that across all of our curriculum standards for all students, whether they're in a CTE program or not?
Let's change topics here to labor force participation. What made you want to get into that?
So perfect bridge, because we talk about that pipeline of education to workforce. And so our team partnered with a Center for Business and Economic Research, UNLV. Andrew Woods has a great program there. And so we dove into the research to answer the question, why was Nevada the third largest drop in the nation in labor force participation after COVID? And what were the factors? Migration factors, people coming into the state, people leaving the state, some interesting findings there. So
did robotics come into that as well?
Automation, we did no, not as a primary factor. When we looked at the populations, it really had more to do with early retirements, educated workforce leaving the state. The most impacted groups were, interestingly enough, married males, and then those with less than a bachelor's degree. And the number one, sector of the workforce that was impacted was leisure and hospitality. And when you think about the fact that 1 in 5 Nevadans are in the hospitality industry, and in Clark County it's 1 in 4, to have that large of an exodus was impactful to one of our largest industries in the state. So we looked at things like, diversifying our economy. In the next interim, we're going to be looking at things like health workforce, knowing that those are higher educated jobs and also help us to attract companies and individuals who want to move here. Because what's the first thing they ask? How's your education system and how's your health care? So that's an actual area that we could diversify our economy, is by really bolstering our health workforce and health industry. And then also just a tremendous loss in construction workers. And there's impacts on the next thing I'm sure we're going to talk about, housing affordability there, that we are the second lowest in the nation in terms of apprentices per 1,000 construction workers. And so that's a labor force that we need. And we're going to be competing with Southern California.
California, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's take another quick break and we'll be right back. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
The new year is bringing so much fun to Tamarack Casino with cash and free play drawings Thursdays and Saturdays, and $40,000 in grand finale giveaways Thursday, February 27th. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators. From the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Jill Tolles. She's the executive director of the Guinn Center. One of the things you studied was affordable housing, which ties into what you were just talking about.
Yes, so obviously another top of mind issue, top priority for both sides of the aisle and at all levels. And so I'm really excited that our housing affordability study is coming out in the next 2 weeks. And we took a look at the factors that caused the situation, the crisis that we're in. Nevada had 70 years of consecutive growth as the fastest growing state since 1940. And since 2010, we've attracted about 24,000 new population coming into the state. And our income levels have not kept up with the cost of housing. And so we took a look at policy options, everything from looking at getting more federal land, rezoning, efficiencies in permitting, redeveloping vacant properties, and then some landlord engagement programs to existing expanding Section 8 vouchers and so forth. So really looking at it as a supply and demand issue. I will say that we didn't look at housing stability or homelessness. We looked at housing affordability and what's going to help us to increase that supply.
And I'm wondering if going vertical in more dense locations is going to be very helpful there.
A lot about zoning in that space, everything from parking requirements to lot sizes. Yeah.
Okay, we only have 30 seconds here, but I do want to ask you about the Gallagher Dialogues because you have another one coming up here.
We do. So every year it's our annual event. We bring in national speakers. Really excited. February 27th at the Nevada Museum of Art. We're bringing in the Center for Effective Lawmaking to look at 40 years of data that tell us how can our lawmakers be more effective in their time in Carson City.
Okay, last quick thing, your website.
Yes, you can learn more at guinncenter.org.
guinncenter.org. Thank you so much, and please come visit with us a lot in Carson City.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
We'll
be right back.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
We wouldn't steer you wrong with the gold standard of steaks at Joel's Chop House. Indulge in dry-aged steaks, seafood, Wagyu tomahawks, and great views of the Strip.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast.